Welcome back. President Biden's younger brother, James Biden, will appear for a transcribed interview today before the House Oversight and Judiciary Committees. Lawmakers are expected to grill James Biden about his overseas business deals and the multiple quote-unquote loans and loan repayment checks that he was sending to Joe Biden, totaling $240,000. Hunter, that we know of. Hunter Biden will testify in the impeachment probe in exactly 1 week from today. House Oversight Committee Chairman James Comer joined the program last week. He told me he could begin writing his impeachment report after Hunter testifies next week. Watch.
I think you're going to see at the conclusion of this investigation, when we issue the report, there were a lot of crimes committed by many members of the Biden family, including Joe Biden.
When are you expecting to issue the report?
Well, we've got to depose Hunter Biden on February 28th, then we'll have a public hearing, and hopefully we'll be starting on that report after that.
Joining me right now ahead of all of that is Texas Congressman Pat Fallon, a member of the House Oversight and Armed Services Committee. Congressman, it's good to see you this morning. Thanks very much for being here today.
Oh, thanks, Marie, for having me. I appreciate it.
So what are you expecting to have come out today in your James Biden interview? And then I want to ask you what you learned from Tony Bobulinski last week.
Sure. Well, what we'd like to see from Jim Biden, I mean, the questions that we're going to ask are, there's flow from you to your brother financially, but where's the original loan documents from Joe Biden to you? Why so many shell companies? I mean, who pockets seed money? What exactly did you do? What services did you provide to your clients other than, again, selling access and peddling influence and really being part of the Biden brand? These are questions that I'd love to ask. And also, Maria, here's another important question. Are we going to find more loan repayments? Because there are so many bank accounts that Jim and Hunter and the Biden family have. It's a head scratcher.
Well, also, when James Comer joined me last week, he said that there were a lot of credit cards being used as well, and he suggested that the credit cards were being paid by Chinese Communist Party members, and that's why he sent a subpoena to American Express. He wants to say who was paying those bills, but this is the check that you're referring to that James Biden sent Joe Biden on March 1st, 2018. It was for $200,000, and there's a very detailed article in Politico about Biden's brother and how he used the Biden name to promote AmeriCorps, the hospital chain, and then the company collapsed. They're suing him for $600,000. Did they use the same tactics in this case, the AmeriCorps tactics that they used in other companies like CEFC from China? And what I'm getting at is the fact that they're talking about giving Joe equity. They're talking about 10% for the big guy. They're talking about money up front. Is this the way it worked for CEFC in China as well? That's what Politico says about AmeriCorps.
Yeah, that was an excellent article they wrote. CEFC is a Chinese company. They pay Hunter Biden $400,000. And remember, 10% for the big guy, as just mentioned. Of course, that's 40 grand. So Hunter Biden scratches a check for 40 grand, that exact 10% amount, to his uncle Jim. And then Jim just magically, in a 24-hour span, cuts his brother a $40,000 check and puts loan repayment. Think about this, Maria, if Joe Biden really did let his brother borrow money, whatever, months ago, years ago, just produce the loan documents. He has not done that, and it's been months now because I don't think they ever existed.
I see. Todd Pyro, jump in here.
Congressman, even though it's apples and oranges, I bet my bottom dollar that Democrats are going to focus their entire questioning about the FBI and the FBI informant Smirnoff being arrested. What are you going to do to make sure that that doesn't sort of override the important work that you're doing, getting to the bottom of the James Biden, Joe Biden relationship? Because I don't know any brothers that exchanged $200,000. I think I bought my bro a sandwich one time. So what are you going to do to prevent that distraction?
Well, the FD 1023 is a periphery. It's ancillary from the topic. We were already investigating the Biden family prior to we knew about the existence of the 1023. And the 1023 was only ever as good as the informant. It was the FBI that told us that this is a highly reliable source. And now he's been indicted. I don't know if anything is going to come of that. But let's just say, for the sake of this argument, that the 1023 was garbage. Well, what about all the other things? What about Yelena Baturina giving Hunter Biden $3.5 million and then having dinner with his father shortly thereafter. Kareem Mazemiev wired $142,000 to Hunter Biden the very next day. He bought a Porsche for exactly that amount. What about Vadym Pozharsky, who was the CFO of Burisma? And why was Burisma giving Hunter Biden $1 million a year when he had no experience whatsoever in the energy sector? So all of these things are still out there. What the 1023 was just one small really pillar of one that we have scores of.
Yeah, wow. There are a lot of things that you're going to be covering today. We're going to be watching that. But I want to also get to the policy coming out of this administration. And, of course, the most egregious has been this wide open border. Fox News analysis finding that the total number of illegal migrants let in by the Biden administration has surpassed the entire populations of 36 states in America. 36 states. But the White House is focused on Ukraine, attacking House Republicans for not passing more aid. White House Communications Director Ben LaBolt wrote that House Republicans, quote, inaction does escalating damage to our national security. He also claimed that Ukraine suffered a battlefield loss because they're running low on supplies, Congressman. No word from him about the national security threat that this open border has created. Your thoughts?
Well, the Biden administration and their allies in the mainstream media always blame House Republicans or Donald Trump for everything. And that's absolutely absurd. If you look at what President Trump was in the 3-year mark, there were about 1.7 million illegal crossings. Under Joe Biden, that's 8.5 million. Maria, you mentioned earlier about Chinese nationals, mostly military-age men. But there were, in the last year of President Trump's administration, there were 450 Chinese nationals caught along the southern border. Last year, it was like 50,000. So, I mean, these are huge leaps and bounds because it is a de facto wide-open border. All he needs to do, if you go down the border and ask the Border Patrol agents what they want to see, they want wait in Mexico to be reinstituted, and they believe that the numbers will go down 70%. So if they want money for Ukraine, we are in divided government. There is a nasty word in Washington that very few people believe in anymore, which is compromise. Then to help us secure the border, Joe Biden, and we'll help you with some aid, a reasonable amount to Ukraine so they can continue to fight Putin.
Yeah, real quick before you go, Congressman, do you think those Chinese nationals are being directed to come here?
I think that there's definitely some. And Maria, let's just say it's 1%. But that's a whole lot of military-age trained men that could be saboteurs if China decides to invade Taiwan and we find ourselves in a hot conflict with them.
All right, we will leave it there, and we'll be watching this situation for sure. Congressman, thank you. Pat Fallon joining us this morning.
Thanks,
We'll be
Maria.
watching, and good to see you, sir.